On the edge of disaster, 2050 looms like a ticking time bomb. Cities that thrive today may become death traps tomorrow. By 2050, over 1.6 billion people will face extreme temperatures. Millions of people will be displaced. The United States alone could face an economic nightmare, with extreme heat draining $500 billion annually. Which metropolis will crumble first? The clock is ticking. Are you ready to uncover the 13 cities that will be unlivable for 99% of people? Brace yourself. The future is closer than you think. Now picture a city slowly drowning, its skyscrapers sinking into the earth as the sea creeps ever closer. This isn't a scene from a dystopian movie. It's the new reality for a sprawling capital of 11 million souls, facing an uncertain future. In just a few decades, a quarter of this megacity could vanish beneath the waves, swallowed by the relentless march of rising seas and sinking land. The most affected area faces a shocking fate. 95% submerged, millions displaced, dreams shattered. Each year, the city plunges deeper, with some areas sinking over 10 centimeters. The culprit? A desperate thirst for groundwater that's hollowing out the earth beneath. As the city sinks, the seas rise, tightening a deadly vice grip of flooding that threatens to choke the life out of this beating heart. Welcome to Jakarta, Indonesia, a city racing against the clock. Floods here preview a submerged future, turning streets into rivers and homes into isolated islands. But hope flickers in the darkness. A monumental seawall rises, a bold stand against the encroaching waters. Mangrove forests, once destroyed, now return as green guardians of the coast. And in the halls of power, a daring plan unfolds to abandon the sinking ship and build anew in the jungles of Borneo. Will these measures be enough? Or is Jakarta doomed to become the Atlantis of the 21st century? The clock is ticking, the waters are rising, and the fate of millions hangs in the balance. As the scorching, waterlogged fate of Jakarta fades into memory, we turn our gaze to another megacity, grappling with a sweltering future. Picture a metropolis of 34 million souls, pulsing with life and ambition. By 2028, this city is set to dethrone Tokyo as the world's most populous city. But with this explosive growth comes a deadly challenge: heat. Welcome to Delhi, India's bustling capital, and a city on the brink of transformation. Now, Delhi endures 36 days a year, when temperatures soar above 33 degrees Celsius. By 2050, this number could skyrocket to 48 days, turning the city into a concrete inferno, especially in Delhi's expansive western districts. The urban heat island effect grips Delhi in a fiery embrace, with some areas baking at temperatures up to 15 degrees Celsius, higher than their surroundings. This relentless heat is not just uncomfortable, but it's a deadly adversary, compounded by air pollution that ranks among the world's worst. The combination is lethal, increasing the health risks for millions, particularly the most vulnerable: construction workers, street vendors, and the poor, who face frequent power outages and limited access to water. Every year, the searing heat saps 4% of Delhi's economic output, a figure set to rise to 5% by 2050, a staggering $6.1 billion loss. But Delhi isn't surrendering to this fiery fate. The city is fighting back with innovative heat action plans, massive tree planting initiatives, and a push for energy-efficient buildings, setting a global standard for resilience. Yet, as the mercury rises and the population swells, one question burns in the minds of millions. Will it be enough? Can Delhi cool its way out of this crisis? Or will it become a cautionary tale of a city consumed by its own heat? As we leave behind the sweltering streets of Delhi, our journey takes us across continents to another megacity grappling with an uncertain future. Welcome to Lagos, Nigeria, a city on a relentless march towards an uncertain future. As Nigeria's largest city and economic powerhouse, Lagos grapples with alarming challenges that mirror its dynamic growth. By 2050, Lagos is projected to double in population, potentially reaching a staggering 40 million. This explosive growth could stretch its boundaries and strain its resources to the breaking point. With the city sprawling uncontrollably, Lagos could ascend as the world's most populous city by 2100, housing over 88 million souls. The city's coastal location, once an asset, now poses an existential threat. Rising sea levels and frequent flooding could submerge vast swaths of Lagos by mid-century, turning neighborhoods into modern-day Atlantis. Meanwhile, the air grows thick with pollution, choking the lungs of millions as vehicles and industries spew toxins into the atmosphere. But Lagos isn't surrendering to this grim fate. The city is fighting back with ambitious plans for sustainable growth. Imagine a future Lagos, where mangrove forests act as natural barriers against the encroaching sea, where sleek public transit systems replace gridlocked streets, and where affordable housing rises from the ashes of informal settlements. Yet, as the clock ticks towards 2050, one question burns in the minds of Lagos's millions. Can this vibrant, chaotic city reinvent itself in time? Will Lagos become a cautionary tale of urban collapse or a beacon of hope for megacities across the global south? The fate of millions hangs in the balance as Lagos races against time to secure its future. Now, imagine a sprawling metropolis, home to over 20 million people, where the ground beneath your feet is slowly giving way, and the lifeblood of the city is vanishing drop by drop. This is a city teetering on the edge of a crisis, where water is more precious than gold. Welcome to Mexico City, the heart of Mexico, and one of the largest cities in the world. Built on the ancient lakebed of Lake Texcoco, this vibrant metropolis is sinking at an alarming rate, up to 50 centimeters per year in some areas. As the ground compacts and fractures, the city's infrastructure crumbles, threatening homes, historical sites, and essential services. But the sinking ground is just one part of the story. Mexico City is also on the brink of a severe water crisis. The over-extraction of groundwater has left the city parched, with some experts warning of a potential day zero scenario where the taps could run dry. The city's primary water system is failing, and nearly 40% of its water is lost to leaky pipes and theft. The challenges are immense, but so are the efforts to combat them. Sustainable water management practices, infrastructure upgrades, and climate resilience strategies are being implemented to stave off disaster. Yet, as the clock ticks towards 2050, the question remains: can Mexico City reinvent itself as a model of resilience, or will it succumb to the forces pulling it under? The answers lie in the choices made today as this iconic city races against time to secure its future. Picture a city of 16 million, perched precariously above a ticking time bomb. Here, ancient history and modern ambition collide, as the ground beneath threatens to tear itself apart at any moment. This sprawling urban giant sits astride one of the world's most dangerous fault lines, a sleeping dragon that has awoken time and time again over 2 millennia, leaving devastation in its wake. Now, scientists warn that the beast is stirring once more, with a 75% chance of unleashing its fury by 2050. In this city of contrasts, gleaming skyscrapers stand shoulder to shoulder with buildings that could crumble at the slightest tremor. Nearly 90,000 structures are poised to collapse when, not if, the big one hits. The very ground beneath your feet could liquefy, swallowing whole neighborhoods in an instant. Welcome to Istanbul, where every day is a high-stakes gamble against nature's wrath. This ancient crossroads of civilizations now faces its greatest test yet. As the clock ticks towards 2050, 16 million lives hang in the balance. Will Istanbul rise to meet this monumental challenge, or will it become a cautionary tale of hubris in the face of nature's awesome power? The future of our cities is being written now. Don't miss out on the strategies that could make or break urban survival. Subscribe to my channel and hit this notification bell to stay informed and resilient. This time, our journey takes us across the Atlantic to a city that knows all too well the devastating power of nature's fury. Picture a vibrant metropolis steeped in jazz and Creole culture, yet forever changed by one of the most catastrophic storms in American history. Welcome to New Orleans, a city still haunted by the ghosts of Hurricane Katrina. On August 29, 2005, this Category 3 hurricane unleashed its wrath, leaving 80% of the city submerged under floodwaters. The statistics are staggering. Over 1,800 lives lost, $160 billion in damages, and more than 1 million people displaced from their homes. The devastation was unprecedented. Neighborhoods vanished beneath 15 feet of water. 134,000 housing units were damaged, and the city's population plummeted from 480,000 to a mere 230 in the aftermath. But New Orleans refused to be defeated. Today, the Big Easy stands as a testament to human resilience. A $14.5 billion fortress of levees, floodwalls, and pumps now guards against the rising tides. Green spaces sprout across the city, ready to soak up stormwater like giant sponges. And as the jazz plays on, the population has rebounded to 80% of its pre-Katrina levels. Yet the clock is ticking. By 2050, New Orleans could face even more intense hurricanes and devastating floods. The city that once danced in the face of danger may soon find itself locked into the desperate battle against the encroaching Gulf. Will these Herculean efforts be enough to save the Big Easy? The fate of millions hangs in the balance as New Orleans faces its greatest challenge yet, surviving in a world transformed by climate change. And now, our journey takes us across the Pacific to another metropolis, facing a different but equally daunting challenge. Imagine a city where the relentless march of urbanization has turned into a sweltering furnace, where the very air you breathe feels like it's on fire. Welcome to Tokyo, Japan's bustling capital and one of the world's largest cities. Over the last century, Tokyo has seen its average temperatures rise by 3 degrees Celsius, with 2 degrees Celsius of this increase attributed to the urban heat island effect. The city's dense high-rise buildings, heat-absorbing concrete and asphalt, and relentless human activity trap heat, creating an environment where summers are becoming increasingly unbearable. By 2050, Tokyo is projected to face even more frequent and intense heat waves. Average temperatures could rise by another 3.5 degrees, with the number of scorching hot days increasing by 33%, making extreme heat events 30 times more likely than in pre-industrial times. The city that never sleeps could become a city that never cools down. But Tokyo is not standing idly by. Efforts are underway to combat the urban heat island effect and to make the city more livable. From creating wind paths to channel cool sea breezes through the urban jungle to expanding green spaces like those in Yoyogi Park and Meiji Jingu Shrine, Tokyo is fighting back. Urban renewal projects consider thermal impacts, and cool paving materials are being adopted to reflect sunlight and reduce heat absorption. Yet, the question remains, will these measures be enough to cool down this urban furnace? Can Tokyo adapt in time to protect its millions of residents from the escalating heat? The fate of this iconic city hangs in the balance as it races against the clock to secure a cooler, more sustainable future. Now we move to Europe, to a place where the land lies below the waterline, where intricate canals weave through historic streets, and where the threat of inundation is a constant companion. Welcome to Amsterdam, the jewel of the Netherlands, a city renowned for its picturesque canals, historic architecture, and vibrant cultural scene. But beneath its charming facade lies a stark reality. Amsterdam is situated approximately 2 meters below sea level, making it highly vulnerable to flooding and the relentless impacts of climate change. By 2050, Amsterdam faces heightened risks from rising sea levels and extreme weather events. Projections indicate that sea levels could rise by up to 1.2 meters by 2100 under a high-emission scenario, with significant impacts expected by mid-century. This rise, combined with more frequent and intense rainfall, threatens to overwhelm the city's extensive network of dikes, barriers, and pumps. The city's history is marked by its struggle to keep the water at bay. The devastating floods of 1953 and the more recent challenges of climate change have driven the Dutch to innovate and adapt. Projects like the Delta Works and the Room for the River program showcase the nation's commitment to flood management, but the looming threats demand even more robust solutions. Amsterdam is not standing still. The city is investing in enhancing its flood defenses, integrating climate resilience into urban planning, and promoting sustainable practices. Initiatives to create green spaces, implement water-sensitive urban design, and develop climate adaptation strategies are all part of the city's comprehensive approach to securing its future. Yet the question remains, will these measures be enough to protect Amsterdam from the rising tides and extreme weather events of the future? Can this historic city continue to thrive below sea level, or will it succumb to the forces of nature? The fate of Amsterdam hangs in the balance as it races against time to safeguard its heritage and its people. Now let's have a look at a city that seems to defy nature itself, a glittering oasis rising from the scorching desert sands. Here, in a land where temperatures routinely soar past 40 degrees Celsius and annual rainfall averages a mere 78 millimeters, human ambition collides head-on with the harsh realities of climate change. Welcome to Dubai, a city that epitomizes both the heights of human ingenuity and the depths of our environmental challenges. By 2050, this desert metropolis faces a future that could make it nearly uninhabitable. Projections suggest temperatures could rise by up to 3.5 degrees Celsius, with extreme heat events occurring for a staggering 48 days each year. The UAE is projected to face a $27 billion total GDP loss between 2022 and 2050 due to changing drought conditions, threatening the very foundations of this ambitious city. But Dubai isn't surrendering to this sweltering fate. The city is fighting back with a bold vision of sustainability. The Dubai Clean Energy Strategy 2050 aims for 100% clean energy production capacity by 2050, with an ambitious short-term goal of reaching 27% clean energy by 2030. Dubai's commitment to sustainability extends to its water management. By 2030, 100% of desalinated water is projected to be produced by a clean energy mix, addressing the city's heavy reliance on energy-intensive cooling and desalination systems. Yet, as Dubai races against time, one question burns hotter than the desert sun. Can this city truly transform itself into a beacon of sustainability? The fate of millions hangs in the balance as this desert paradise fights for its very survival in the face of climate change. This time our journey takes us to a city that never sleeps, a global icon of resilience and ambition. Welcome to New York City, home to 8.3 million people, and a beacon of culture, finance, and innovation. But beneath its bustling streets and iconic skyline lies a city grappling with the relentless impacts of climate change. By 2050, New York faces a future where rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and scorching heat waves could redefine life in the Big Apple. Sea levels around NYC have already risen by a foot since 1900, and projections suggest they could rise by an additional 1.5 to 2 feet by 2050. This increase will bring more frequent and severe coastal flooding, threatening homes, businesses, and critical infrastructure. The challenges don't stop at the water's edge. NYC is projected to experience a 14% increase in annual precipitation by the 2050s, leading to more intense rainfall events. The urban heat island effect exacerbates the situation, with average temperatures expected to rise by 4.7 degrees Fahrenheit, making heat waves more common and deadly. But New York City isn't standing still. The One NYC 2050 plan aims to secure the city's future against climate challenges. Extensive flood defense measures, sustainable urban planning, and a commitment to carbon neutrality by 2050 are all part of the city's arsenal against climate change. As the clock ticks towards 2050, one question looms large. Can the city that never sleeps rise to meet the challenges of a changing climate? The fate of millions hangs in the balance as New York races against time to secure a resilient and sustainable future. Next, we visit a sprawling metropolis on the Arabian Sea, where the challenges of climate change are becoming increasingly dire. Imagine a city where extreme heat, frequent flooding, and poor air quality threaten the lives and livelihoods of millions. Welcome to Karachi, Pakistan's dynamic city that faces significant environmental challenges that are only expected to worsen by 2050. With temperatures already reaching up to 52 degrees Celsius, the frequency and intensity of heat waves are projected to increase, posing severe health risks to residents. Sea levels could rise by up to 1.2 meters by 2100, with significant impacts expected by mid-century, threatening Karachi's coastal areas with flooding and saltwater intrusion. The city has already experienced catastrophic floods in 2020 and 2022, highlighting its vulnerability. Poor drainage systems and rising sea levels exacerbate the risk of flooding, while climate change has led to outbreaks of malaria, dengue fever, and severe gastroenteritis, increasing morbidity and mortality rates. Karachi's challenges are compounded by inadequate infrastructure, including unreliable electricity, insufficient water supply, and poor waste management. The city's dense urban environment and lack of green spaces exacerbate the heat, leading to heat-related illnesses and deaths. But Karachi is not without hope. The city is investing in flood defenses, such as improved drainage systems and seawalls, and restoring mangroves can help protect against flooding. Public awareness campaigns and improved healthcare infrastructure are essential to address climate-related health crises. As Karachi races against time, the question remains, can this resilient city overcome the formidable challenges posed by climate change? The fate of millions hangs in the balance as Karachi fights for a sustainable and livable future. Number 2 on our list takes us to another megacity, facing an uncertain future due to the relentless impacts of climate change. Imagine a sprawling urban landscape where the heat is almost unbearable and the threat of rising waters looms large. In this city, record-breaking temperatures have already been felt, with the hottest May day in a century reaching 36.7 degrees Celsius in 2023. By 2050, average temperatures are projected to rise by up to 3.5 degrees Celsius, turning the city into a furnace, with hot days increasing from 18 to about 50 per year. The frequency and intensity of heat waves are expected to soar, making extreme heat events a common and deadly occurrence. The urban heat island effect exacerbates the situation, particularly in densely populated areas, trapping heat and pushing temperatures even higher. Economically, extreme heat currently causes a 4% loss in the city's output due to reduced worker productivity, a figure expected to rise to 5% by 2050. But the challenges don't stop there. Rising sea levels projected to increase by up to 1.2 meters by 2100 threaten to flood coastal areas, combining with land subsidence to heighten the risk of devastating floods. The city must brace for more frequent and severe flooding, with significant impacts expected by mid-century. Yet, there's hope. The city is actively working on strategies to mitigate these impacts. From implementing water-cooling island effects and increasing green spaces to enhancing public health measures and upgrading infrastructure, efforts are underway to build resilience. Without significant reductions in carbon emissions globally, however, the city could face severe challenges in maintaining livability and managing heat-related health risks by 2050 and beyond. As the clock ticks, the question remains: can this city adapt in time to protect its millions of residents from the escalating threats of climate change? The fate of this urban giant hangs in the balance as it races against time to secure a sustainable future. As we've seen, cities around the world are racing against time to adapt to the challenges of climate change. But there's so much more to uncover. Don't miss out on crucial updates and insights that could shape the future of our urban landscapes. Subscribe now to stay informed about the innovative solutions and urgent actions cities are taking to combat climate change. Let's turn our attention to the number one spot on our list, a city that embodies both the greatest risks and the most ambitious efforts in the face of climate change. A city where the stakes are as high as the rising tides that threaten its very existence. Imagine a vibrant coastal metropolis, home to millions, where the beauty of sun-kissed beaches is overshadowed by the looming threat of climate change. This city, with a population of approximately 470,000 residents and over 6 million in the greater metropolitan area, is renowned for its diverse culture and booming real estate market. Yet, it stands as one of the most vulnerable cities in the world to climate change impacts, particularly sea level rise and extreme weather events. By 2050, this city faces severe challenges. Sea levels are projected to rise by 2 feet, with researchers predicting that 60% of the area could be underwater by 2060 if current trends continue. The frequency and intensity of heat waves are expected to increase, with temperatures regularly exceeding 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and economic losses from heat could double, reaching $20 billion annually. Flooding from storm surges, heavy rainfall, and king tides is already a frequent occurrence, and sunny day floods are becoming more common and severe. Welcome to Miami, where the battle against climate change is fought on multiple fronts. The city's low elevation and porous limestone foundation make it highly vulnerable to sea level rise and flooding. Infrastructure, including roads, buildings, and drainage systems, is at high risk from these impacts, and many structures are not designed to withstand the projected changes. But Miami is not giving up. The city is investing in robust flood defenses, such as seawalls and storm surge barriers, and implementing sustainable urban planning strategies to create green spaces and enhance drainage systems. Climate adaptation and resilience projects, like the Miami Forever Climate Ready Adaptation Strategy and the Miami Forever Carbon Neutral Plan, aim to reduce emissions and prepare the city for future impacts. As Miami races against time, the question remains: can this iconic city adapt in time to protect its millions of residents from the escalating threats of climate change? The fate of Miami hangs in the balance as it fights for a sustainable and livable future. One thing is clear: the future of our urban landscapes hangs in the balance. From rising seas to scorching heat, the threats are real and immediate, but so are the solutions. Cities around the world are innovating, adapting, and fighting back against climate change. The clock is ticking. Are you ready to answer the call?